We know that on August 9th, we have a general election. We are going to elect people in very many positions in the country, from MCAs to members of the National Assembly, to members of the Senate, to county governors, to members of which one? County assemblies. Have I said county assemblies?
No, you hadn't. You're good.
To women reps, to president, president one.
That's only one position.
That's the only one.
The other ones have plurals to it, but this one it's one.
This one is one. In total, 1,882 elective positions. Yes? All those are very many leaders to elect on a single day. A commissioner with the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission joins us now, Francis Wanderi. Very good morning to you, Commish.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on the hot seat of Kenya's biggest conversation.
That's nice. I'm happy to be here.
We call it the hot seat, but you know what? It's like we say, it's to show our hospitality.
Yeah.
Hatutaki ukae hapa na baridi.
Sawa. Asante.
Feel at home.
I'm at home.
Yes.
I've not been here before, but I'm glad to be here.
Thank
It's
you.
my first time.
Thank you. Now let's begin with the crucial dates.
Yes.
Today is a crucial date on the calendar of the IEBC.
Yes.
And today is the day that those seeking executive elective positions are supposed to be going to the IEBC to present their papers with those of their running mates. This is president and governor candidates.
Yes.
Yes, am I correct?
Correct.
And why is today the deadline?
Well, today, before you came to today's date, the 16th, about 2 weeks ago, the parties requested that we extend the time that they were required to submit the names of the president and their deputies. And they negotiated and we agreed, because the commission is a listening commission. We wanted them to have enough time, and they agreed that by today, both the parties, all the parties that are sponsoring presidential candidate, will submit to the commission the name of the president and their deputies. That applies to independent candidates who are running for presidential position as well. They are required to submit their names and the names of their deputies. Equally, all the governors, today they are supposed to submit the names of their their governor candidate and their deputies. So that is a negotiated position between IEBC, political parties, as well as dependent candidates. So that is the position. And the reason why we came to this is because IEBC also requires time to look through the candidates and their qualifications and other requirements of law, so that we can now be able to say we have candidates. Right now, we are in that position. So
we don't have candidates yet.
We don't have candidates yet. We are
Okay.
going to have candidates after we have received their names and the requirement. What happened earlier on, which a lot of Kenyans thought that it is IEBC clearance. It was not IEBC clearance. It is a clearance by the registrar of political parties. And the requirement here is that if you are an independent candidate, you are supposed to submit your logo to the registrar of political parties, who looks at your logo and says this logo does not belong to any political party. Right?
Or any other independent candidate.
Yeah, or any other independent candidate. 2, you are not a registered member of any political party. That is, you are running as an independent candidate. And that is what has been submitted to us. So it is now, from today onwards, that now we shall also be able to scrutinize the details provided to IBC by those leaders who are looking for elective positions.
So in addition to just the names,
Yes.
so let's say we know already some political parties have decided on their names and their candidates. So William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua come to you today. In addition to their name and ID to prove that I am William Ruto and I am Rigathi Gachagua, what else should they present?
Now, the political parties can present that.
Okay.
William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua do not have, they have to present that. The political party can present that. However, we will do candidates registration between the 29th of May to the 7th of August. That is the time they will they will come personally to present themselves for registration to the returning officer of the presidential election, that is Chebukati. Now, what they will present, the parties will present them today. And the independent candidate will presented. We will now start the process of scrutinizing those papers. Because they are also required to present what we call the ethical clearances. In other words, from Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, they have to present those documents, the academic qualifications for the presidential and governors. You have to be a degree holder. You have to be cleared by HELP, KRA, Credit Reference Bureau, all that process. Now, we as in the commission will be required to check what you have presented to us with, for example, academically, we need to go to the Commission of University Education to check whether what you have presented to us is a valid degree or not. Right? Then, it's only after we have gone all those clearances that you should be able now to say that you are a candidate, and then you come for registration between the 29th to the 7th of June. It's from there on that the IEBC will now be able to say these are our candidates and we are going to print the ballot papers for these particular candidates.
And so the IEBC has the final word on who candidates actually are?
Yes, that is the mandate of IEBC.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, with all the campaigning and the back and forth that we are seeing and everybody's saying what, in reality, I mean, like we said, there are no candidates per se.
As of now, the IBC cannot tell you this is a candidate because you can present those papers, you don't qualify, and we tell you don't qualify.
Okay.
And for this reason.
Okay.
Yes.
What?
And
Sorry.
And then from there, after you have presented and cleared you, and you have allowed you to participate in the election, then the campaign period starts from 30th of May.
Okay.
Up to the 6th of August.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what happens should you find any discrepancies in these presentations that have been made to you? What recourse do you take? And it could be anything, like you say, from the higher education board, you find that, or from the university board, you find that this degree is not valid, for example, or you find that somebody's, record is not clean. Anything that is a flaw deemed by IEBC that then does not allow this candidate to be on your list, what recourse do you take, if any?
Well, if, for example, assume a case where a candidate presents a degree that is fake or from a university that is not recognized in Kenya, we will disqualify you. Because that is a legal requirement. If you don't have a degree that is recognizable by Kenya, or even if it's a degree that is from another university, for example, a university in the US, that is not accredited in the US, we will disqualify you and you will not participate in the election. Okay. It's that simple.
Okay.
Yeah, because that is a legal requirement. IBC has a mandate to implement the election law in accordance with the Constitution and the Election Act.
Are any of these then issues that will be given after that appealable?
There are some that you can appeal. What will happen is after we have presented your candidature, let's say anytime between the 29th to the 6th to the 7th, we'll give you an appeal period. That is between, the latest date of appeal is of 6th of June. So if you have any issues that you feel that IEBC has not been fair to you, you can appeal, you can go and get that matter sorted. So there is an appeal period between the 30th and the 9th of June. You can appeal any decision you think is not fair.
Okay.
Independent candidates or aspirants
Yes.
have complained recently.
Yes.
They've said IEBC has come up with something out of the blues, a new requirement that in addition to me presenting my name, I shall go and fill out a form, and I'll need to get, just like is required in law, I'll need to come and show that I have the support of my constituents. Either 1,000 if you're running for governor, or 2,000
2,000.
per county in half of the 47 counties if you're running for president.
Yes.
But then now the issue here is that you also now want them to bring copies of IDs. And they're asking, where is that coming from?
Thank you very much for that question. Let me clarify. IEBC does not impose any conditions. Its position, the work of the IEBC is to follow the law and facilitate the candidates. It's a legal requirement that was passed, I think, 2017, allowed just before the election 2017, that candidates running for president, both independent and those nominated by the political parties, must submit 2,000 signatures from at least majority of the constituencies in this particular, majority of the counties. In this particular case, we are talking about 24. All right? In addition to signatures, they must submit photocopies of their supporters. That is the law. That is the legal requirement, and the IEBC is just implementing what was discussed. The reason why that was not implemented in 2017, because by the time this law was passed, already the nominations had been done by the political parties, and there was no time for them to be able to do that. But we are not imposing as IEBC. We are implementing the law as it is required. So if you do not have that number, we will not allow you to participate.
But are you hearing the concern here? The concern is being raised that when you start going asking for people to give you copies of their IDs, it's basically that they've given you the ID for you to get a photocopy on their behalf, or they've gone and done a photocopy and given you. That is now breaching into the areas or getting into the areas of data and privacy. And many people would be uncomfortable with that. And so the expectation was either that IEBC should have gone ahead to sensitize the people, that candidates will be coming to you seeking your IDs. When they do, just know that it's IEBC. They'll be bringing to the IEBC in accordance with the law, or you seek ways of helping them.
No, IEBC does not help candidates. If you choose to be a candidate for any position, it is your duty to look for what is required, what is the requirement for that position. It's not the duty of the IEBC.
But the IEBC has a duty to the voter.
Yes.
I, as a voter, if IEBC told me,
let me
I
explain.
can give an ID copy.
Let me explain. Two issues here about the data security. We have sought the opinion and cleared with the data commissioner that as a requirement of the law, and there is nothing you can do about it. So my advice to those who feel that this is not working out very well for them is to go to the Court of Appeal and get that section declared unconstitutional. And it's because as of now, there is not much we can be able to do. We have told the candidates that we want to vie for the presidential position, that this is a requirement by law. And the easiest thing we can be able to do is to appeal against that section of the law, because we have told them they have been advised, And even when they came to seek for this advice from the IEBC, we advised them. We had a meeting with them. They had been coming, meeting our people, our staff, and this is a requirement which they knew.
You know why to the layman it seems like an uneven playing ground? That these requirements are not required of political parties and their candidates.
It is required of all presidential candidates,
All
including
candidates.
all, not independent alone, even those sponsored by political parties.
So you're saying that even political parties and their candidates have to provide this same requirement?
Same requirement.
Now, the reason why I bring it up, when Eric said you have a duty, see, if I hadn't asked this question now, most people would have the point of view that I had, that it seems like it's only the independents that this is required of. It doesn't kill the IEBC to actually state and say, folks, listen, these are the basic requirements. Just, it's out there. This is what it takes if you want to be president, irrespective of whether you're in a political party or irrespective of whether you're a president. Would you say the IEBC has done enough of this, of informing the public that these are the requirements?
I remember our chairman issued a press to that effect, that that all those candidates who are going to run for presidential positions are required by law to fulfill these conditions. All right. Now, one of the reasons why I'm here, and I'm happy to be here, and we are doing this a lot, is that you want to continue to educate the Kenyans on the issues that they may not. You may be listening to people here and there, they will raise a lot of issues, and we are very happy to come to studio to talk to Kenyans and tell them exactly what is happening, what is required. So we had issued a presser to that effect. When the parties and the independent candidates representative came to the IEBC, we discussed that matter with them, and our chairman actually addressed a press conference where I was present on the same matter. So it is, we expect that when we do a presser or issue a press conference, that we have communicated to the Kenyans.
Actually, no, you haven't. What you've done is communicate to a section of the Kenyans what you're doing now, and if you do more of it, now that is ensuring that more and more people get to hear. How many people get to read what is in the papers?
No.
How many people even buy newspapers? How many people watch TV? I'm simply trying to explain to you that stating it once, whether it's on radio, you make sure it's on TV, even if it's just once, that message is forgotten by the end of that day. A message this important is something that needs to be put across many, many times.
Okay.
That's when people understand, this is it.
Yeah, whenever we have an opportunity, we are doing that.
Yes.
Our commissioners have been going to the radio stations, to the TV stations, to talk about all the issues related to the elections. And we even have a social media communication system that is getting all this information to the public. So we have a robust communication system. We would want to do more, and we will continue to do more as we move towards the elections.
I want to give you direct feedback here.
Yes.
So even looking at the IEBC social media account, and we looked at it over the last 2 weeks or so, there has been no communication to the voter
Yes.
on this requirement. This is a requirement that not only touches on the candidate, but also touches on the voter.
Okay.
Because the voter has got to endorse this candidate. So the voter needs to know that, yes, a candidate will come to me and request me to give them a copy of my ID, in addition to appending my signature to their form.
Okay.
Now, if you have not done sufficient voter education, are you seeing it's possible for Eric Latif Omtata to go to court and say, well, IEBC is not doing its job?
Okay. Let's agree there may be not enough communication, and I can assure you that we're going to try and do that as much as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. And I not only on this particular matter, on any other matter that has to do with the elections as we move forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a break there on that point, and then we continue the conversation. It's 29 minutes coming up to 8:30. Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room on SpiceFM, on YouTube and Facebook, SpiceFM KE. Those are our handles on YouTube and Facebook. And also we are live on KTN Home. Commissioner Francis Wanderi from the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is here with us today, talking about these crucial dates ahead of the August 9th general election. Today is the final day for presidential candidates and gubernatorial candidates to present, maybe political parties or their nominees, to present the names to the IEBC. And then we know thereafter the candidates will then be required to go through the checks. We want to talk about those checks and what the IEBC will be looking at as they say, okay, you're cleared or you're not cleared. What are those requirements? 8:30, we'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
We continue the conversation. Eric Latif, Nduoko, CT Buga, and Commissioner Francis Wanderi from the IEBC. We're looking at the crucial dates ahead of the August 9th general election. This is a point when IEBC is clearing aspirants and then declaring them. Then from that point, they become candidates. So from the 29th of May, Commissioner, is when you've said these people who will be coming today, the political parties, let's say, will present the names of their candidates and the running mates for president and governor. And then from the 29th to the 7th of June, the candidates themselves now come to you. After having gone and collected all the required documents, go to EACC, get a stamped form. Go to Kenoti, get a stamped form. Go to KRA, go to HELB, go to the Commission on University Education, all those places, they come to you. What would you be looking for when they come with all those forms?
Well, we'll be looking for example, EACC, whether you are, EACC plus, of course, the Director of Public Prosecution, to see whether you have any criminal record. Because the law requires that if you have been convicted for a period of 6 months or more on a criminal activity, then you are disqualified. You are disqualified for participating in an electoral position. That is part of what we'll be looking for. Commission for University Education will be scrutinizing your degree, and they will send them to the Commission for University Education to confirm whether that is a valid degree or not. KRA, whether you are cleared as a Kenyan who pays tax. Then there is a Credit Reference Bureau, whether you have a record of bankruptcy or those kind of things. That can, because if you are bankrupt, you don't qualify to participate in an election as a leader. And HELP, whether you have paid your Higher Education Loans Board obligations or you are complying to. You don't have to have paid, but you are paying as required. Those are the issues we'll be looking at. So once the candidates come forward to us with that information, we needed to verify that what you have given to us with those institutions that are required to do so. So for EACC, there is a self-declaration form that you are supposed to fill and give it to them. Then if there are any issues that have to do with your credibility or integrity, we will deal with that. What we are talking about is Chapter 6 of our Constitution. Yeah.
But are you satisfied that you'll be able to net people who have questionable integrity? In this particular case, say somebody has been convicted by a court of law, has been sentenced, but they are still going through the appeal process. Are your hands tied, or do you have the authority to actually say, you know what, you still have a case in court? The issue of HELB, is it a legal requirement, or is it just one of those things that have now become standard practice that you have to have some clearance from HELB?
It is a practice. Let me put it this way. I don't think it is within
It's
the.
not. It's not anywhere in law.
But it's a practice that has been, for you to hold a public office, then you need to see that you are meeting your obligations. The issue of integrity, which you have talked about. Now, if you have been convicted, and we know in Kenya we have people who have been convicted, and they have gone to the Court of Appeal, we, according to our Constitution and our laws, you are still considered innocent. So IEBC will not stop you as long as the appeal process is in place.
Even if you know that there's an individual of questionable character, 1, 2, or there might be, a smudge on their image it doesn't matter. And the IEBC then, from what you're saying, cannot override the suggestion that the appellate court could free this person. Are we basically saying that in this regard, the hands of the IEBC is tied by the law?
The eyes of IBC are tied by the law to the extent. For example, if you have been impeached by Parliament or Senate, then IBC considers that as a quasi-judicial organization because that quasi-judicial organization has said that you should not hold a public office.
Okay.
For that reason, IBC cannot clear you. Because this is a very clear decision of an independent institution, like Parliament. Therefore, IBC will take that as a premise under which we must make our decision.
I seek clarity on this.
If IBC does not clear you, and you want to go to appeal against the IBC decision in court, that is up to you. But there are certain cases whereby IBC will take positions because a decision has been determined. There are other people who have gone to court. They have gone to the Court of Appeal. They have gone to the Supreme Court. And the decision may have been sustained as it was decided by the High Court. All right? Now, if you have that kind of a process and it has been determined by the Supreme Court, then there's no other court beyond that. IBC will not clear you.
What if it's still pending? What if somebody was impeached, but they are contesting the impeachment, and the matter is still in the judicial process?
But you see, if you are impeached, a decision that has been made that you should not hold a public office by Parliament is a binding decision.
So
if the court would want to interpret that matter differently, the IBC will not be part of that decision. We will implement what we think is right as IBC.
So are we saying today, clearly, that if there are individuals who have been impeached and are aspiring to be leaders again, what we are saying is that during this clearance process, IEBC will not give that clearance?
That is the position.
Let that sink in.
Even as it sinks in, I am actually asking myself, if somebody is convicted by a court of law, is that not also a decision? Is that also not a determination that this person is guilty? Now, they then appeal. Why does the IEBC not take the same position when it comes to this? Because a court is a court of law. It is where you go for redress. And they have determined that this person is guilty, have even pronounced a sentence, and then the person appeals, but a position was taken.
And it's not
How is that different from the position that is taken when one has been
Impeached.
Yes.
It is different because
Yes.
Parliament is an independent institution like
The court.
the courts.
Yes.
All right? And the Parliament has gone further and said this person does not qualify to hold a public office. And there are many cases that have been said, even for public officers who have been working in the government or in the county government, and they have been declared that. Once that decision is made, even if you have appealed, and the decision is very, very clear, Parliament itself is a quasi-judicial organization that has the mandate to make that kind of a decision. It is different from somebody who's going through the court process. All right? Because you have appealed against a decision, and you have cases, we don't have to mention anybody, but you have cases whereby people have gone through the court process, they have been sentenced, then they have been told, they have appealed against the sentence, and they are said, now you have appealed, you are set out of jail, go out and appeal out of
There's a stay order.
the stay order. Now, until IBC has been given other directions by the court, that person, in accordance with our law, is considered innocent until further. And I want to get this argument further. Even if you are elected today as a member of Parliament or a senator or whatever position, when their appeal is determined and you are found guilty, you lose your position. Even if you lose your position. Okay? So that is the premises of law, and I think the IEBC must operate within that.
Okay. So are you essentially saying that there could be folks who are campaigning today and are essentially wasting time and funds going around campaigning when they will not be cleared by the IEBC in the very near future?
I do not want to say that. I want to say that anybody comes on his own, and we will apply the law, and we will either clear you or not clear you depending on the status.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's look at another issue that well before 2017 was determined by, 2017 then, determined by court in terms of mechanisms that political parties needed to put in place to make sure that there was a balance of gender.
Yes.
To say that at the political party level, let's make sure that 2/3 not more than be represented by any gender, right? Yes. So then political parties then have been mandated by law to put in mechanisms that would ensure this. That was not enforced because they asked for more time, right? 5 years down the line, we are here now. IEBC came out and said, look, guys, as you're presenting these lists to us, make sure that we have this balance represented on your lists. Should you not do that, and as we've checked the list, we will give you 48 hours to then fall in line. If you don't do that, we're going to chuck everybody off the list. Was IEBC intent on sticking to that?
Yeah, we are. Actually, we had given them up to the 12th of this month. And somebody went to court. Yes. Somebody went to court and they said that situation is unconstitutional and whatever argument, and we are told to not to effect it pending the hearing, which is supposed to be 13th is when?
13th?
Of Friday.
Was on Friday.
It was on Friday.
Yep.
So we are waiting for the determination. I'm not sure, I have not got to the latest. But the matter went back to court because the judgment was to be given, the ruling was to be given on Friday. Our position is that any party that will not fulfill the 2/3 gender requirement, all their candidates, whatever position they are running, will be struck off, will be prohibited from participating in this election. That position is there, and we are also implementing the decision that all parties are required to nominate not more than 2/3 of one gender when they are presenting their candidates. In the Senate, for example, if you are Senate positions that you are sponsoring candidates, if you are Parliament, you are sponsoring candidates, all right? Governors, you are sponsoring candidates, but not governors, sorry. MCAs, there is a top-up system that is already in the Constitution. In the Constitution, that if you do not have 2/3 or 1/3 of which, then you have to top up by the gender that is disadvantaged. But for the others, we are effecting that.
Now, if this matter, say for instance, it is in court,
Yes.
the court determines that the IEBC position is to be maintained. And those who appeal upwards and keep appealing upwards. So long as there's an appeal and there's a stay order, what you're saying is that the political parties will then be able to field whatever candidates they like in the manner that they have chosen without necessarily subscribing to this 2/3 gender rule.
Okay, let me tell you, that's not the position. The position is this: we are going to effect it. If they go to appeal, what we have done, and our chairman has talked with the Chief Justice, all issues that are relating to the election process that are coming to court be given preference, so that they are determined in good time to allow the process go on. So if there is an appeal against this decision of the IEBC, if it goes to appeal, we will look at the goodwill of the judiciary, because they are working with us to facilitate the elections, to make sure this matter is determined in good time. Yes.
I want to take you back to the matter of the clearances.
Yes.
We last week we hosted the CEO of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission together with the Director of Public Prosecutions. And specific to the matter of the academic credentials, they said there were cases where they could see clearly that the certificates that had been presented by the people when they were filling the self-declaration forms were not legit.
Yes.
They even raised the issue with the DCI, and the DCI conducts investigations and establishes that yes, there's an issue. But this person has gone to court. We already have people who are aspirants this time, and they have pending court cases as to the legitimacy of their academic papers.
Yes.
What is the IEBC's position today on this one? Are you going to say, as far as we are concerned, there's a question on the legitimacy of your academic credentials? And in public interest, we are not going to allow you to vie. You go and appeal. Because where does the public interest lie? Is it in allowing the candidate who may not have met the qualifications to continue with the process? And then let's say it's found that actually, yes, that degree was fake. We have to take the people back into an election process. Or where is the public interest in denying this person the opportunity?
I think in the public interest, the best decision is to deny the person, because if there are integrity issues on that particular person, that this certificate which you have brought, and we are seeking information from the institutions that are supposed to do that for us. For example, if anti-corruption says that the degree that I have is fake, then we will tell you that you cannot accept you as a candidate because you have been advised by the institutions that you are working with, because we want those institutions to give us information. That is the basis on which we are going to clear you or not clear you. So if we have been advised this is a position, then we will not be able to do that. And I can tell you, I think there is a case some time back, I think 2013, where somebody vied and he went to court, and I don't want to say where, but he went to court and he was charged that the degree that he had was fake. And eventually it was determined the degree was fake. And of course he was disqualified. So what we are saying, we will disqualify you on the basis of that as an institution.
Whether there's a case in court or not.
In this particular case, we would, as I have told you, we are working with the judiciary, and we are asking them to process those things as quickly as possible. And I'm sure in the interest of justice and in public interest, the best thing is for us to clear you once we have been cleared by the court. And the Chief Justice is cooperating, and we have requested that, and it is happening. So in this process, we have to work with other institutions that facilitate the integrity of the election.
There was another issue which has gone to court and has been determined in the Court of Appeal, and this is the famous Minor K decision.
Yes.
With regards to where does the presidential election take place?
Yes.
Does it take place at the constituencies, or does it take place at Bomas? Now, this issue was basically saying that Wafula Chebukati has no role at all in telling us who the winner is in the presidential election.
Okay, thank you.
That the election takes place in the 290 constituencies. What's going to happen this time?
Can I correct you?
Yes.
Elections don't take place in the 290 constituencies. Election will take place in about 48,000 polling stations. That's the premises that we must all agree as Kenyans.
Okay.
And I want to say, the vote that will be cast at the polling station. For example, I vote at a place called Kanyagia polling station in Ken constituency. The vote that will be cast at Kanyagia polling station for the presidential candidate, for the MCA, for the MP, for governor, for women rep, and all those positions is the vote that will count. And I want to explain a little bit further. Our election process is basically manual. The area where the technology comes in is when you are registering as a voter. We take your biometrics, and those biometrics are in our data. We take your ID number and your names, period. When you come to vote, that is the next position where we identify you through your biometrics. Okay? We identify you through your biometrics, and we take all the 10 fingers so that if any one of them get cut or something happens, you can use the other 9.
Yeah.
So we try all the 9. All right? That is very, very important, because once you identified with the biometrics, then That is the only time that you can be able to vote. And you use your ID as the other document for identification. The third area where we use the technology is during transmission. What will happen and what we will do, once you have voted, you have your agents there, you have observers, and you have a team. You will be at the end of the close of the polling station at 5 o'clock. We seal the box, then we open it again, we count votes one by one. Let's use the presidential case. We will count the votes for all the presidential candidates.
At Kanyagia.
At Kanyagia polling
Which is a primary school in Kenya.
It is actually it's a hall.
A hall in Kenya.
It's a public hall in Kenya. Once we have counted all what has been voted for each particular candidate is tabulated in presence of your agents. The agent will sign the form to indicate these are the...
That is Form 34.
Yes, Form 34A. These are the results from Kanyagia polling station. All right? President name so-and-so has got this, so-and-so has got this, so-and-so has got this. Then they will take the KIMS kit, which they are using for identifying the nini. They take a picture of that result. That result form. All right? Those are the results.
Right.
All right?
Then
they will send it, transmit it through the same system to the National Tallying Center.
Okay.
Is that kit programmed to do only that? Take picture and then
No,
send?
this kit is the same one you are using for
To identify the voter.
to identify the voter.
Yes.
And in this kit, it shows that Muga has voted. He was number 200. Wanderi has voted, was 201. To keep the record of that.
Okay.
And that record is supposed to be transmitted to the National Center.
Okay.
That at 9 o'clock, we open the polling station at 6, 9 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and the time of closing. So we have a track record of what has been happening at Kanyagia polling station.
Okay.
All right?
So
that is the form that is transmitted. That is the result, Form 34.
Okay.
So it's coming from the polling station directly to the national.
Yes, transmit direct to national.
Okay. Now, put that in context with a KI decision.
Yes, that is where minor KI decision, which is the position as of today, that the results, the election and the results at the polling station are final.
Now,
I want to let me finish.
Please go ahead.
Because it's very important.
Please go ahead.
Once the form is done, the form you have filled at the polling stations is taken to the constituency office. The returning officer of the constituency will collect all the forms from Kieni constituency.
All 34 A's.
From 34A, add the total. Then he will be able to say, in this constituency, this candidate got so many marks, those candidate got so many votes, those so many votes. Then you transmit. This information, including together with all the results from the polling stations, will be delivered to the National Tallying Center. Okay? Form 34B now.
They'll be delivered physically.
Physically. Yes. You have transmitted this information, but following the fresh presidential elections, the ruling was that the originals must be taken to the National Tallying Center.
What is the status?
From all the 290 constituencies.
What is the status of that result that has been declared by the returning officer at constituency level? Is it a provisional result or is it a final result?
The final result is at the polling station. The tallying you have done at the constituency is the total of that. And when you bring that information, all right, there's no provisional result. Because you're supposed to add let's say, like Kieni has maybe about 200 polling stations. all that total of that is the one that will be filled in from that 4B.
B.
And other than being transmitted, you bring it physically with all the attachments. And at the National Tallying Center, it's just to check that
That
But
this
what
is
was
the final.
transmitted is the same.
what was transmitted from the polling station and what has been from the county, all that people at the National Tallying Center will check. If Chebukati finds that you have made an error in entering this, for example, you may enter 17 or instead of 71,
Okay.
all right? Chebukati will only note that he cannot change
Cannot
the
change.
result.
Okay.
That is the ruling. That is the law, that the results at the polling station are final.
Commissioner Wanderi, I think we'll invite you to, as we get closer and closer to the August 9th date, come so that we can discuss these and other matters as well to make sure that everybody is on the same page
Yes.
with regards to whether we have manual transmission, electronic transmission, what's the role of each of these, which one is final and all that.
Yes.
Asante sana for joining us today.
What I would like to add is that as a moment we are trying to map out all the polling stations in the country to make sure that whether they have all got the 3G network, and you are working with the communication authority to determine that. And in soon we shall be announcing to Kenyans how many are covered.
Okay.
Thank you.